Everyone loves talking about broken cards. Everyone loves saying, this player is meta, this one is unstoppable, this one is endgame. But nobody talks about the real thing that decides matches in a football, weaknesses. Because no matter how high the overall rating is, no matter how shiny the card looks, every single player has a flaw. And if you don't understand that flaw, you'll lose games you shouldn't lose. So today we're exposing them. Not the highlights, not the hype, the weaknesses. Let's start with Dirk Kuyt. On paper, he looks insane. High stamina, good finishing, strong movement. That willpower skill that makes him even more dangerous as the match goes on. But here's the weakness nobody talks about. His curl. When you look at his stats, everything screams complete attacker, except that curl number sitting lower than you'd expect for a winger. And that changes things. Because curl matters more than people realize. It affects finesse shots. It affects outside-the-box bending efforts. It affects those far post-angled finishes from the wing. With Kuyt, you can't rely on beautiful bending finesse shots like you would with a pure technical winger. He's more direct, more straight line, more power-based. If you try to force finesse shots constantly, you'll feel it. That's his flaw. Now let's move to a proper striker. Christian Vieri, the 104-goal poacher. Big, strong, elite finishing, phenomenal finishing skill. But here's the issue, ball control. And this is a subtle but important weakness. In tight spaces, when defenders are pressing aggressively, Vieri doesn't feel silky. He feels powerful. There's a difference. If you try to turn sharply inside crowded penalty areas, you might lose the ball. If you try to dribble like a small, agile striker, you'll get tackled. Vieri is lethal when facing goal. But if you play with your back to goal and try to dance, that's where the weakness shows. Now let's talk about Mason Greenwood. This card looks technical. Strong dribbling, nice shooting, acceleration burst skill. But the weakness? Offensive awareness. And this one hurts. Because offensive awareness determines how smart your runs are, how quickly you react to loose balls, how well you position yourself in the box. Greenwood can finish beautifully once he's in position, but he doesn't always put himself in the perfect position automatically. You might need to manually trigger runs more often. Compared to elite poachers, he feels slightly slower in reading attacking space. That split-second difference can cost you goals. Now let's go defensive. Raphael Varane, elite defender, tall, fast, strong tackling numbers. But his weakness? Balance. And this matters more than people think. Balance affects how stable a player is during physical duels and sudden directional changes. Varane is strong in straight-line defending, but in chaotic moments, rebounds, quick turns, sudden body shifts, he can feel slightly unstable. Against small, agile attackers, that weakness can show up. He might overcommit. He might take a half-second longer to recover. And at high divisions, half-seconds are everything. Now we move to the legend. Franz Beckenbauer. Weakness? None. And that's not exaggeration. Look at the defensive awareness. Look at the engagement. Look at the tackling. Look at the speed. Look at the composure. He doesn't have a glaring red stat. He doesn't have an obvious flaw. He reads the game perfectly. He passes well. He defends cleanly. He moves smoothly. He's one of those rare cards that doesn't punish you for using him. If there's a mistake with Beckenbauer, it's usually you, not him. Now let's talk about creativity. Gianfranco Zola. Magician, dribbler, playmaker. But his weakness? Physical contact. And that's huge, because in higher divisions, defenders are aggressive. They shoulder you, they push you, they collide constantly. Zola can glide past players beautifully, but if a defender gets a proper shoulder challenge on him, he can get bullied. You need to protect him. Use quick passes. Avoid heavy contact situations. If you treat him like a physical forward, you'll lose possession often. Now back to chaos. Andrich, 104 overall. Low screamer, willpower, acceleration monster. But the weakness? Heading. And this changes how you use him. You cannot rely on crosses. You cannot treat him like an aerial threat. He's 173 centimeters. His heading stat is lower compared to tall strikers. If you spam lofted balls into the box expecting dominance, you're misusing him. Andrich is about ground attacks, through balls, low-driven shots, explosive movement. Use him in the air and you neutralize his strengths. Now let's talk about Willian Paycho. Defensive monster. Strong tackling, aggressive, high defensive awareness. But speed, that's the weakness. Against fast counterattackers, you will feel it. If he gets caught too high, if he misses the first challenge, recovering can be difficult. He's dominant in duels, but not built for foot races against 95-plus speed wingers. Positioning becomes everything when using him. Finally, let's reflect on something important. Weakness doesn't mean unusable. Weakness means responsibility. If you understand Vieri's ball control limitation, you'll avoid tight dribbling. If you understand Kuyt's curl weakness, you'll rely on power instead of finesse. If you understand Andrich's heading flaw, you'll keep the ball on the ground. If you understand Varane's balance issue, you'll defend smarter instead of lunging. The problem isn't the weakness. The problem is pretending it doesn't exist. In eFootball, most games aren't decided by who has better players. They're decided by who understands their players better. And when you truly learn these flaws, they stop being weaknesses. They become tactical adjustments. Because the smartest players don't chase perfection. They manage imperfection, and that's how you win consistently in a football.